to episode 195 of the FReality Podcast, your fortnightly roundup of all the latest VR gaming news. We've got a packed show for you today, starting with 3 newly announced VR titles coming soon, which should definitely be on your radar. We discussed the latest Meta earnings call where they announced $1 billion in revenue from the Quest Store. Completely insane. We give you our hands-on impressions of the newly released VR time-traveling adventure, Wanderer, and the VR MMO, Zenith. Also, things are heating up with the PlayStation VR2 as the official website goes live. And to round up this monster of a show, Nathie has some releases coming in the next couple of weeks for us all to look forward to. But for now, let me introduce you to the team and find out what's been their highlight from the past couple of weeks. Also, let us know what you've been playing in the chat so we can read out some of your highlights too. First up, this guy has decided to sell his VR setup. No, he's not quitting VR. He's selling a digital version of his VR setup for fans to enjoy in Rec Room. So our blonde brother is, of course, Nathie, in a brand new setting. How you doing?
Yeah, so I decided to sell my house, and I now have a VR fan, and I'm gonna travel through the world to make people excited for VR. I'm gonna show them how cool the metaverse is.
I know you're joking, but that would actually be a really good idea.
I know, I know. No, I'm in my brother's van because my brother is celebrating his pre-birthday in my house because his own little house wasn't big enough. So he's doing it here, and now I have to, sit in his van. So that was the trade-off here.
It's a pretty awesome setup, though, because I'm showing a picture of it on the chat. I had to crop it a little bit, but people will get an idea of how it looks like. But yeah, explain a little bit of what we're seeing here, because it looks like an insane setup in a car.
I mean, it's a house on wheels. So there's a kitchen, there's a tiny bathroom, like a shower and stuff, and a bed. Like I'm pretty much sitting on the bed right now. So it's a couch, but then you can transform it into a bed. And yeah, they sometimes there's like, let's go to Spain or let's go to this place, and yeah, they go everywhere with it. And my brother usually works from within this van too, so yeah, it's
awesome.
like the dream.
How do you have internet there? Like, how does that work? Is that with like a mobile phone or like mobile data, or like what are you using?
So there is Starlink built into this van. So that's what. So thank you, Elon Musk, sponsoring the show today. No, that's not true. That's not true. But that can be used, and also, of course, like inside my house, there's also internet. So yeah, if you see me disappear at some point, then you know why.
Yeah.
So but yeah, it's
the
great.
house
It's
inside.
kind of cozy in here. Although it's kind of weird to just have people partying in my house while I'm not there.
Yeah, we actually have a question from Thomas van Bouwel. He said, how did you set up your Guardian in there?
If you play VR in here, I don't know how. Oh man, maybe Mike knows. I mean, it's as big as his like old school hallway from back in the days.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've lived that life. Yeah.
So
any highlights from the past couple of weeks?
I mean, yeah, we're gonna talk about Wanderer soon, of course. You hinted towards me selling my desk in VR, my gaming setup basically, and that's true. No, I'm not into NFTs. Don't worry, you don't have to cancel me just yet. You can do that later if you want. No, I've been playing a lot of Rec Room for the last 2 weeks. I've been like investing a lot of my time in there to understand how the community works, what they're doing in there. And we talked about this before, that you can draw things in Rec Room and turn it into an invention, into a creation that you can then sell to people. You can also just give it away for free. So I made a desk with like a computer desk with screens on it, a Quest, a computer, my logos on it, a chair, and you can now buy that in Rec Room and then put it into your dorm room.
Wow!
And
nice.
I think I don't know the exact price, but we're talking about like $1 or something. So it's not crazy expensive. So I'm trying that out now, see if people like it. I've already had like, I think 10 people who bought it so far. So it's pretty nice. Cool. And then I visit them in their like dorm rooms, and then we just kind of hang out, and yeah, it's great. It's really fun. Everyone can do this. Although there's one thing, because you would be like, I can make like free money in Rec Room because I just create something, I'm done. You have to get a subscription to sell stuff.
Oh, so you have to pay to sell.
Yeah. Right. So for now, I'm still in the red.
Well, we'll keep you updated every couple of weeks with his progress with selling items in Rec Room. It is interesting, and like I think he said, the creator economy is going to be huge, like in the future, right? People selling.
This is this is a legit economy. I know everyone is like suddenly talking about metaverse this and buying land, whatever. But in Rec Room, this is like legit stuff. It's been around since last year, and it works, and it's great. So it's something that everyone can benefit from, not just me selling it, but also the people. You can give something back, basically. So. Yeah, it's really fun. It's really fun.
Very nice.
Actually, the best example of that was when Nathan took me to a Rec Room anniversary party, and we were going through what was like a digital convention, and there were makers selling their wares, and some of these were like, even big makers. So there was like an Xbox thing you could go along to, and I think it was like a Master Chief helmet or something you could get.
Yeah.
But like, you do have like, it is really the first landscape of like proper, I'll say, ownership of like digital assets, but in a place that that isn't just going to evaporate tomorrow. So it's cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. So next up, this guy jetted off to Cuba without a care in the world, all while forgetting to finish to upload this audio version of the podcast. So shame him in the chat, everyone. No, I'm joking. We'll let him off this time. It's the current captain of this ship. It's the one and only Rowdy guy.
Yeah,
how you doing, dude? You all right?
That's the only reason you're letting me off, right? Because you know what I can do if you don't.
Exactly. You can actually cancel me right now. So yeah, I've got to be careful with what I say.
No, that was entirely my fault. Well, I'll explain to people what actually happened. So I was a bit in a rush because I had 3 deadlines before I had to. But before my holiday started in Cuba. Which was not that easy to get to, because I actually thought before I left that I actually had COVID, because I had 3 of my friends that had COVID, and I had a goodbye dinner in Belgium with them. So I had, I think, 3 PCR tests over that entire period. It was ridiculously expensive because I had to pay for that myself. But actually, when I finally got my final results, I turned out to be completely negative. So my holiday was not in danger. That did mean that I had to finish all of my deadlines right before I left, because I knew that the internet was going to be a little bit iffy. I uploaded the podcast. I finished everything. Like that's the worst part. Like it's like, because people probably thought I'm being lazy, but I finished everything. Like I did everything, uploaded it, and then I shut down my computer and was like, I'm good to go. The only thing I forgot was pressing the save button. Which meant that nothing of it was stored, because it takes a little bit of it takes like I would say like 45 minutes or something to upload it, because it's quite a big file. And yeah, I didn't. And then I tried to get my files on, because I did manage to get an internet connection, but none of the files had synced to my account, so there was just nothing I could do. But
it's up
the
now,
episode
though. If you missed it, it's up now.
Indeed, it's been uploaded. It's been fixed. Whew.
Catch up.
Nice work. Any highlights from the past couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like I've been to Cuba. I've never been there before. I mean, I had a really good time there. I completely zoned out of many of the things that I normally do. It was actually nice to just relax for a little bit, to go on a holiday like we used to, because it's been a while since we've been able to do this. And I mean, I wouldn't say it's the same thing, because you still have to do, you have the mask policy, you have the PCR test, you have specific applications you need to install in order to travel, you need to fill in a lot of documents, this and that. But if everything is arranged, it does feel like you're on holiday, which was nice. So yeah, I do recommend people, make sure you inform yourself, make sure that you get everything in order. But if you're fine with that hassle, then do go on holiday, because I think it's important, for us as humans. Yeah.
Nice. Well, we'll get you up to speed again with everything that you've missed over the past couple of weeks.
Sounds good.
Some cool stuff, actually.
I heard that on the Twitter chat.
Yeah, cool. Well, good to have you back, safe and sound. And another guy back, safe and sound. This guy traveled 3,500 miles across the globe to relocate with his family in Canada, all because he loves cheese curds on his fries. Oh. It's the legendary VR streamer, ZimTalk5. Welcome back to the show, dude.
Thank you. I'm glad to have made it in one piece. It went after months and months of planning and years of stringing this out, and it was such a stop and go the entire last 3 years. For anyone who's been following the podcast, you'll know, because I mentioned this about probably 2 years ago. and it's taken all this time, but we're here now, so which is great. Last big thing to do is to find a place to live. We're in temporary right now, so but we punched through everything, local quarantine, had my pets come over. It was a bit of a shock to kind of arrive to minus 20 degrees C, I'll be honest. I mean, I did used to live in Alaska, but that's, to anyone who's lived in Britain for a good number of years. I was 17 years over, Ireland, England, and Scotland. And yeah, the snow that fell like 2 nights after we got here is still here. It's like a gas that comes and stays. And to be honest, it's absolutely lovely. I love the cold. I love the snow. So do my kids, my wife, and stuff. So it's like the perfect climate. I always, when I lived in the Caribbean, I always melted. I'm not, genetically designed for Caribbean weather. So it's nice to be somewhere like this. I do worry about summer a little bit. I know Rowdy's told us the tale about how warm it can get over here. So maybe come summer, you're going to see me a little bit, glossier looking on the podcast. But it's good to be all set up here. And I have actually been able to VR a few times, did some shows and stuff like that. Have a little mobile rig I'm very proud of. Not too different from Nathan. I was happy to see his photo there today because, when you're packing to go, you're like, what am I going to bring? And, I brought 1 T-shirt. I brought like 3 jerseys because the showmanship, come on. And then like 1 work shirt, like very, very limited on the tech. I brought my 2080 Super in a box because, my God, that goes for like 3,000 Canadian dollars here. Jesus Christ. I haven't built a PC yet because I figured I'll find a house first. And then I'll get the parts together because otherwise you're ferrying bits together. But
I don't know about those priorities, Sim. Like, I don't know about them.
I've been really happy with this laptop I've been using.
I mean, a PC can keep you warm. You just need to find the right applications for it.
Yeah, heater is so important. If my little space heater broke down any one of these days, I would be freezing.
I can imagine.
Very happy about that.
Nice.
But VR-wise,
awesome to have you back.
One thing I wanted to mention was Affected. I jumped into Affected, and I was just kind of playing around with my, for my audience and stuff, and ran into this additional thing they added a while back, which I didn't realize. It's called The Darkness. So if anyone's played the original Affected game, which is quite scary, it takes you through a few scenes.
The Manor?
Affected the Manor. And then they added the Gauntlet, which was like a colorful speed run. I'm going to run down a channel, little girls are going to jump in my face and screaming and stuff. So it was kind of more fun than scary. But the Darkness, I'm telling you, it is deep black, in your Quest, you can play it. You can play it on PC too. And all you have is like this little candlelight. And I was screaming. It's that scary. So anyway.
It's amazing when he screams as well.
It's still on Twitch if you want to go see it from a couple of weeks ago. But I was just happy to be able to get a Quest stream running with a laptop, a camera, a light, and a Quest. And it's like, wow, I can now do shows without a proper rig at all. And I didn't think that actually OBS or all that could take all of that. But as long as you got a broadband connection, we're good. So that's pretty cool. Very happy.
Imagine trying that like 10 years ago with some Hydra controllers, a DK1, and a crappy laptop.
Oh my God. No
that
way.
wouldn't work, would it? No. Very happy to be back.
Cool. Nice. Good to have you back. So what about the chat? What have they been up to? Any good suggestions from them? I saw some comments. Let's have a little look. Been playing VRBug, been playing Zenith and RE4. Very cool. Graham Hickman, Resident Evil 4. New to the Quest, I had to get it as my first purchase. Amazing. That's so awesome. Like, imagine just jumping straight into Quest and your first game of Resident Evil 4 VR. Like,
wow.
Yeah, you're starting like with the best. Yeah, a lot of people playing Zenith and enjoying that as well. Mr. Panda also playing Zenith. A lot of people really enjoying that game. We're going to talk about that a little bit more later on. But yeah, Ethrit just got into Boneworks. Wow, nice. That's going to be a fun one for you.
Mark mentioned one of my favorites, which is Puzzling Places. That's one that just is so, it's just so handy. Like, it is the one that I go to when I'm on my own and I just want, you're after a really hard day and you're like, I have no energy to stand up and Beat Saber.
Yes.
Puzzling Places is I'm just going to chill on the couch, and that's nice.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, we've got a couple more suggestions. Arcane Mage playing Demio. Demio kind of fits your name as well, dude. Matt Man just finished Wanderer. So yeah, very cool. Don Grout talking about Gorilla Tag. And that's funny because that is actually my highlight this week is Gorilla Tag.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because last show, we had Kerastol on the show, who's the creator of Gorilla Tag, and he talked about how he came up with the idea for the game, and it was a really insightful chat. So if you missed that, go and check it out. It's a really fun episode. But actually, after that episode, one of the pro Gorilla Tag players who has a dedicated Gorilla Tag YouTube channel actually called J-Man Curly. He invited a few of us to join him so he could kind of show us how to play like a pro. So it was me, Nathie, Get Hip, Steel on VR, and also VMT, who's another kind of pro Gorilla Tag player. We kind of all jumped on a server together and had a lot of fun. And he was showing us like how to wall climb, showing us the new environments as well, because like we obviously played it such a long time ago. Those new maps didn't exist back then, but now you've got like these caves, which have got like each time you step on these like different colored crystals, it makes a different sound. So you can even like make little songs if you want to, little tunes. You've also got this like canyon environment, which is really cool, like really big open environment. And you've also got this kind of like shopping mall where you can buy all the cosmetic items. It's so well done. It's so well done.
Did he show you the special, like the break through the window bit?
Yeah, the little secret area, amazing. The gold helmet. Yeah, of course, everything. So yeah, we had a ton of fun playing that together. Obviously, Nathie and I have a blast whenever we play that together anyway. But it was great to play with those guys and also get to know them a little bit, because obviously that was the first time we got to speak to them properly. But they were also fans of our channels, so it was kind of nice to kind of get to know them and understand how like maybe some of us had influenced them getting into VR in the first place. So it was a real wholesome experience. If you're interested, you can obviously go and check out the video, which is on J-Man Curly's YouTube channel. And obviously Gorilla Tag is free on Steam and Quest. So yeah, we had a blast playing that.
You can find out what my favorite video of all time was.
Yeah, I kind of like roasted Nathie a little bit in the video. But yeah, you can go and experience it for yourself. So yeah, that's my highlight this week, this past couple of weeks. Yeah. So maybe before we get into the news, we should say thank you to our brand new sponsor of the show. Yeah, they're back again. It's VAL, which stands for the Virtual Athletics League. They actually sponsored us last year, and they're back once again with their VR Winter Games. The Winter Games is kicking off on the 26th of February, which is a series of online tournaments, fitness challenges, and fun events where you can enter and compete for your opportunity to win thousands in cash prizes. A few of the VR games included in the tournament are Real Fishing VR, Loco Dojo, and Hyperdash. And there's actually a $5,000 prize pool for Hyperdash, as Val have teamed up with the Dash League this year. So yeah, quite a few pennies there. If you're good at the game, you know, it's a no-brainer to jump in on this. If you're interested in checking out the tournament times, you want to know about the games, the prizes, head over to onearena.gg, and we've linked that website in the description down below. So go check it out.
And I want to comfort people interested in playing the Real Fishing VR game. My dad is not participating, so you don't have to worry.
Is he still like so into the VR fishing stuff?
My dad is.
It started with bait, right?
Yeah, bait.
Yeah, like my dad has been into fishing stuff ever since he was a kid. You know, like that's what he used to do, and now doing it in VR, like every time that I well, it's not that often anymore that I'm at home with my parents' place, but if I do bring the headset, then that's what he wants to try, like try the new fishing stuff every time.
Oh, there, son, give me your headset.
And he's good at it. He's good because he knows stuff. You know, he knows, like, you don't need to explain him the game, you know, like he knows what the lure is and which lure to use for which fish. So it's like
that's
you know, amazing. The game is like made for him.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that you started off on bait. I remember you telling us that story when he got hooked on bait a long time ago. Yeah. So yeah, let's get into the news then. And the way I want to kind of start off the show today is talking about some upcoming games, because normally Q1 of any sort of year for VR games is a pretty dry season, but we've actually had a really good start this year with games such as Zenith and Wanderer, which we're going to be talking about a little bit more later on. We, of course, also had Hitman 3 VR, which came to PC. Although it wasn't great, there's still some fun to be had exploring the game from a whole new perspective in VR.
Taking Mike out.
Taking Mike out. Yeah, I'm actually in the little tutorial level, and one of the first NPCs you get to strangle to death. So yeah, enjoy that. But alongside those titles, we also had some new game announcements, which are also quite rare, sort of beginning of the year. So I thought I'd share some of these new game announcements, which are coming later on in 2022. These are ones that I'm personally excited about, and also you might have missed some of these announcements. So I thought I'd just make sure they're sort of on your radar. So I'll go over them briefly, and hopefully Rowdy can play the trailers for you in the background. The first game I want to talk about is Knock. You might have seen this one. This one's going to be right up Nathy's alley, as it kind of looks a little bit like Rocket League in that you have an arena with a goal at either end. Kind of similar layout to Rocket League sort of arenas as well. But instead of cars, you use a bow and arrow to fire the arrow and knock the ball into the opponent's goal. It's super bright and vibrant, and it looks like it's a 2v2 online competitive game. A bit like Gorilla Tag in that it's kind of got a simple premise, but it looks like it could be really fun and addictive. It's actually from the developers Normal VR, who made Half Plus Half. So I don't know if you guys remember that game. It was a free-to-play multiplayer experience on Quest, which was super fun to play with friends. So yeah, this one looks really promising. We don't have a release date or price just yet, but this is definitely one to keep an eye on.
Immaculately constructed, half and half with like, you know when you go, I don't know, I'm obviously involved in this now, but you're looking at properties and things are just beautiful, like gorgeously ornamented. That's how I would describe half and half. And also the multiplayer design for some of that, like the hide and seek game, just really, really on point. And you could do it without talking to anybody. You had multiplayer fun with other players without actually exchanging words, which is kind of special in its own right. So I'm super excited about that for that reason. And I'm an archer in Skyrim, so Nathan, you're going down.
The smack talks has already started. So yeah, that one's Knock. Definitely one to have on your radar. Next up is a sequel to one of the best VR games of all time, in my opinion, and that is The Walking Dead: Saints and Sinners. Skydance Interactive announced that Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 Retribution will be coming soon. It's a standalone game following on from the original game where you'll continue the story of the main character known as the Tourist. All we know so far is that it's coming this year in 2022, and it's likely going to be releasing on the same platforms as the previous game, so you can expect to see this on Steam, PSVR, and on Quest. I personally still haven't finished the original game yet, or had chance to check out the new Aftershocks DLC, so I should probably get on that before this new game drops.
You need to finish it. It's got a good ending, you know, in kind of classic Walking Dead / Telltale fashion, it's like it's one of those decisive endings, right? You're not just going to get one ending. You get to kind of influence the ending, and so it's worth finishing that for that first storyline. Although this will be standing on its own legs, and the fact that they said squad in one of their teasers leads me to believe that they may have snuck in multiplayer. And if they did that, lads, we've got a game for 2022.
Co-op Saints and Sinners would be so epic. Yeah, I would be totally down for that. Apparently, also, if you're a fan of Saints and Sinners, if you check out the Aftershocks DLC and you play it right to the end, gives you a lot of hints as to what's going to come next in this new chapter called Retribution. So have a little dig around and see what you can find. Yeah.
Nice. Like, I also like the idea of like, because they call them the tourists, like you said. And that's a concept that's also been very present. I'm sure Zim knows that, but like in like the Elder Scrolls series, you have the prisoner, which you are, because in every Elder Scrolls series you start as a prisoner, which gives you like kind of like this blank sheet to like draw on, and you can become who you want. And I like that in the Walking Dead like series that they're trying to build now. Maybe it's also becoming that kind of thing where you are this character with kind of like a blank sheet. And you can become, evil. You can do good things. It's an interesting kind of mix of those kind of concepts.
You can become a saint or a sinner,
or
indeed,
or a prison boss,
or a prison boss.
Well, yeah,
I know what I would choose.
I'm sure, yeah.
Same. The amount of views that you got, Rowdy, I would choose the prison boss as well. So to wrap this little segment up at the beginning, the last upcoming game, which I'm super hyped about, is Vox Machina. And this is from developers Space Bullet. It was announced this week that it's getting a full single-player story campaign. Now, this game has been out for a while. If you're not familiar with it, it's been available on Steam. And basically, it's a mech piloting game, which has right now it has this kind of like online multiplayer mode. The thing about this game is the way that it feels and sounds. And it feels just like you'd want it to feel piloting a mech. You know, when your mech's like stomping through the environment, the whole cabin is kind of like shaking, and it just feels like you're in this like meaty machine. It feels epic. You've also got this.
The AI is pretty cool too.
Very cool.
Yes.
Very cool. Yeah, you've got like a little screen where you can interact with other players, and a little like comm system where you can actually pull the radio down and pull the trigger, speaking to your little radio comm system to chat with your teammates. It's incredibly well done, but like multiplayer was never really my bag. So although I really appreciated the work they put into it and the design, I never really played it regularly. But now they've announced this story mode is coming. Apparently, it's been in the works for 2 years, and it will feature new characters, even bigger mechs than they featured in the game before, and multiple planets to explore. I'm just super, super hyped to get stuck into a single-player campaign mode.
Oh, and the funny thing, I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I was just going to say, one of the things that was going to stand out to people who got into Dune and that whole thing recently is the sandworms. So you do have the ability of this crossover between giant thundering mechs and gargantuan sandworms going around the planet. Those are already in the game, but I'm sure they'll feature as part of the single-player campaign. It's hard to miss when your giant mech is getting beaten up or eaten by a giant sandworm. It's fun.
And the funny thing is, like, because I know that like Zim is a big fan of mech games as well, but I am as well. And we've had actually, a few VR mech titles already, but I think that this one, I forgot the names of the other one because I used to play the single player one that I really liked, but I forgot how it was called.
Archangel.
Yes,
Archangel?
That's it. That's really like that one. It was short, but
was made by Skydance, by the way, who made the Walking Dead Saints and Sinners.
Indeed. Very, very fun game. If you're into mech, definitely check that one out. Gorgeous visuals, very, very well done. And then the other one, which name I also forgot, but that was originally a PC game, and it was a multiplayer one that I've played that a lot on PC. And they announced the VR mode, but it didn't really take off. And I even think that the game is not.
Is that Hawken?
Anymore. Yes, Hawken. Thank you.
Okay.
That's why I need you guys. You guys are good with the names.
Game,
I just have the experiences in the back of my head.
That was a classic.
Yeah.
Also, there's the one that Nathan loves, which was Riggs, which is also another mech, more of a mech sport combat game. And more recently, and again, is it called Iron Rebellion? The one that was
from Resolution.
Yeah, so there's a fair few attempts at kind of going for the magic that Mech Warrior had, right, back in the day.
Yeah,
and,
but that's funny.
honestly,
Like the one you mentioned from Resolution games, that one is kind of like Knock in that sense, where you play in this Rocket League arena again with like mechs. So yeah, full circle.
The cool thing is, this new campaign is completely free if you already own the game on Steam. So
nice.
it's a free update to the game. They might obviously increase the price of the game or charge for this content later. Yeah. So, if you want to get in on it, maybe now's the time to buy the game.
Because multiplayer is great, but it's sometimes like to build like a multiplayer scene, you need to have something to draw people in, right? And if they have like a single player campaign that is good, and the visuals in that game were already great. And to like draw people in like that, and then like maybe tie them in with the awesome multiplayer they already have. It's smart.
Yeah.
I
loved it. I loved it the way that it was kind of a bit like Titanfall in that when your mech got destroyed, you ejected out of the top.
Yeah. That's so awesome.
So good. Yeah. And the fact that you can also feign death or shut down your mech and power it down and hide in your cabin with no sight and still listen out for mechs and stuff going by. Also, some of the sniper rounds that they have, like rail shots in that, are very, very impressive weapons. Like you said, it kind of feels like a mix between like a Euro Truck Simulator on some kind of, I don't know, crazed. Yeah, absolutely. ETS and Transformers had a baby.
But that's. Have you guys seen that Transformers game? Like I want to get excited for it, but it looks very basic in terms of what they have showed so far. So yeah, I don't know. I want a full-blown Transformers game, but I'm not so sure if this is going to be it. But I do want to try it out at least.
I can't even remember what they've called it, but I wasn't that impressed.
No, they dropped gameplay this week, I think. I'm not so convinced, but yeah, like that could be cool too in a mech kind of style.
Yeah, so that's the last game that I wanted to kind of highlight. That should be on your radar. Single player campaign to Vox Machina. We don't know when it's coming, but it's coming relatively soon.
Sure.
So now let's talk about Meta. There's a few things to talk about, but let's get into the first one, which is this week they hosted their quarterly earnings call. This is where Mark Zuckerberg gives an overview of the company's performance and obviously their future plans. And we've got some points that really stood out from the call that I kind of want to talk about. So the first one, which I think is awesome, they announced that people have spent more than $1 billion on Quest Store content. I think this is an incredible milestone, and it really shows that developers are, that are creating content on the Quest platform are making money on their investments. And I think that's great. It's good for us. It's good for Meta. It's good for developers. It's good for everyone that we've got a healthy ecosystem on the Quest Store. To break things down a little bit further, Chris Pruitt actually tweeted some additional figures to kind of put some of these numbers into perspective a little bit. 8 titles on the Quest Store have made over $20 million in gross revenue. So that's at the top end. So we've got 8 titles made over $20 million. We then have 14 titles that have made over $10 million, 17 titles that have made over $5 million. And this is crazy. This is pretty insane. 120 titles that have made over $1 million in gross revenue.
That's good. And I think you'd probably be safe to say that between $1 million and $2 million to make a decent VR game is probably what your budget is. So gross, just take away that money. That means developers who were breaking even and going beyond that and actually having a successful VR title. You say 127?
What was that? Sorry.
How many was it? 127.
So 120 titles have made over $1 million.
That's great. That's
I do honestly think like the biggest chunk of that money is being made around Christmas.
Oh yeah, highly likely. Yeah, like Christmas was a huge boost for everyone.
Because that's when suddenly all the developers said like, oh, now I'm suddenly making loads of money. Well, usually they're not super vocal about it. So around Christmas or suddenly like, we're getting rich. It's raining money.
But of course, it was one of those hot gifts, wasn't it, this year? Just like it was the year before. Yeah.
Exactly.
But to also put this number into perspective, Ben Lang from Road to VR gave some additional perspective on this like 1 billion figure mark. And he kind of compared the Quest Store to the Apple App Store when it originally launched on iPhone. And he said that when you look at the App Store launch, when it launched on iPhone a long time ago, it took Apple around 21 months to hit that $1 billion in revenue. And it's taken Meta 34 months, which is obviously longer, but I think, for what I would say is still a very niche product, whereas, phones have wide market appeal, VR is still very niche. It's incredible the fact that they're still relatively close.
I think even with the apples to orange comparison, I think you're actually, I think you're spot on there, Mike. It's a nascent technology, So like I would actually say that they're maybe even pacing much faster than we should expect them to. Quest is, I think, done even better than Facebook originally. Even Quest 1 did better than they, I think, were expecting at the time. So they doubled down on it, and it's obviously paying off for them. Yeah, but will it save them?
Well, I'll get in more of that shortly.
Actually, like the chat, because we have a few big names in the chat as well. Shout out to Higo Dan, sadly it's Bradley, but they're making up a few good points as well. That Facebook probably owns a couple of those companies that are raking in the 1 million figures and above. That's a good point to keep in mind. And another thing is as well that what Onikaze brought up is that we might want to check what the average dev team numbers are for those apps, because if it's 1 million for an app that takes about 40 people to generate, it's not really a sustainable business model. Which are indeed things to keep in mind. Yeah,
you got to remember though, a lot of the apps on the Quest App Store are like indie devs, so they're like much smaller teams. Yeah. But I think it's a good sign. Things are moving in the right direction.
Although like impressive, like if numbers are that impressive, even that it's maybe not sustainable, more investors will probably get interested in what they're doing. So that might result into more cash in the end.
Yeah, like to go to the point that Guy Godin made, and sadly it's Bradley. Like, it's highly likely that the one of the 8 titles that made over $20 million in gross revenue is likely going to be Beat Saber. That's probably a given. Some people have kind of used this figure and kind of suggested, again, we didn't get official numbers from Meta about this, but suggested that it would roughly equate to potentially around 10 million Quests sold since the original Quest launched, which I don't know. Do you think that's sort of a bit overestimate or underestimated? A little bit over, you think?
Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, that's just a guess. Best guess.
What markets? I'm curious now. Like, because at original launch for Quest 2, it was even somewhat restrictive in terms of what markets you could get it. And I remember the original Quest, and certain countries like Rowdy, wasn't it not launching in Belgium or something like that at the time? I remember there were difficulties.
Germany.
Quest 1.
It was Germany. Launched? Yeah. That was.
It's still not being sold.
Yeah.
Quest 2 is also not being sold there.
So I'm just curious because there's certain countries, like if you live in, I don't know,
Brazil.
I can't even think of something. Yeah, there's a whole ton of countries where if you want to get a Quest, you have to go through someone buy it in a different country and get it to you. That's why I'm curious what their primary markets are, because we haven't seen the full whack yet, because distribution.
Definitely America.
Yeah, you can tell it's America because they tend to ignore everyone else.
Yeah, nowadays they're ignoring us all the time. It's crazy. Yeah, no, America for sure.
That's the legal ring fence, and
it also just
Rowdy and I came over, so you guys come on.
That's why you moved over for the giveaways.
But it also, I mean,
you want a little questy. That's what it is.
Yeah,
it's Supernatural, remember? And I can go into Horizon now, so
Hey, have you ever heard of a VPN? It's way cheaper. Just saying.
It's also, of course, GDPR. In Europe, that limits a lot of their, abilities to make money there as a data collection company still.
But Facebook had to upscale for GDPR, because if you're collecting data, and we're not going to go down this hole, but if you're collecting data on an EU resident, it doesn't matter where you are globally, you still have to comply. So Facebook didn't dodge GDPR by not launching a Quest in that market.
That's still the reason why they're not selling in Germany, right?
I thought it was local German regulation.
Yeah, I thought it was the government that got involved. Yeah.
They blocked them.
No, but it's mainly because the Quests in America are laying in the store. Over here, you really got to look for it. Most of the advertisements that are being done are happening in the US. Yeah, as Mike mentioned, like the giveaways are mostly US only. They're about to announce something. Maybe it was Super Bowl related. I'm not sure. But people are already guessing it's going to be US only too. So yeah, that's also why numbers are that high. Like, we don't know, but it's obvious America for sure.
Yeah. Horizon, for example, you can only access it from America right now.
And Canada.
Yeah, can't wait to actually try it for once. I'll let you guys know what I think. Yeah.
Like the first thing you stepped out of the plane, you're like, I'm gonna play Horizon now.
While we're on the subject of numbers, Meta also stated that they're spending $10 billion on VR and AR tech each year. This is an absolutely insane number. $10 billion each year. So they're using this money obviously to continually invest in VR developers, making studio acquisitions, also like the amount of research and development they do each year. We do know from the earnings call that Project Cambria, their latest headset, is releasing sometime later this year, and also their upcoming AR glasses, Project Nazare. So yeah, they've got a few things in the works, but again, when you put this number into perspective, $10 billion sounds like a lot of money. But again, if you use the kind of iPhone example, like Apple was spending that sort of money way back in the day, investing into the iPhone when they were launching that. So it sounds insane, but also, essentially, you got to remember they're kind of bankrolling the whole VR industry right now as it stands.
Also, I'm sure that you highlight that maybe a little bit later, Mike, but that's less than a 20th of the value that they lost over one night.
Yeah, I am going to mention that. Yeah, I am going to mention that. So yeah, they're investing crazy amounts of money to obviously make VR, AR, and the metaverse become a thing. But despite all this, it's all this like positive stuff. The Facebook Meta stocks did take quite a nosedive, an eye-watering 20% drop after the earnings call. And this is mainly to do with Facebook as a social media platform rather than their metaverse and VR and AR plans. It was kind of cited in a lot of financial reports that the reason for the drop was that Facebook itself as a platform is losing traction. And apparently this is due to a drop in daily users. So that's kind of dropped over the last few years. Also, as you might be aware, Apple now allow users to block ad tracking with iPhones, which is, probably one of the biggest mobile platforms. So that's obviously taken a big chunk out of the way that they can advertise to users, which is, they've been very good at that over the years, and that's been their sort of main source of revenue. And we've also seen like platforms like TikTok, which are becoming more popular, especially with the younger generation of users. So they're kind of losing traction in the social media space. But obviously, as we know from, their what was it? Meta Connect, Facebook Connect, whatever it is, they're obviously pivoting as a company. The whole company is pivoting. That's why they changed their name. They're now moving away from being just a social media company to a metaverse company with a lot of focus on VR and AR. So they're kind of in this tricky spot right now where they're pivoting and they're making this transition. So,
but still,
yeah, even
imagine just losing $240 billion over one night.
Yeah, it's nuts.
The confidence in the economic market in Facebook/Meta is also affected by misrepresentation in their financial reports. I mean, any company that does that is going to lose investor confidence.
They're also being investigated by FTC, right?
Especially when they're under numerous investigations. This is Facebook we're talking about, of course.
You're saying they're lying about numbers.
Yeah, that's absolutely it. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we're not saying that. It's them who are saying that.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a substantial problem for them, and it's something seems to be at their core of their DNA. I think no one probably reads a bit of Facebook news without thinking about all the trauma that's happened in the last kind of 5 to 8 years. They just can't get themselves out of hot water. So I really hope. This is my hope, is that this is kind of like a wake-up call for them. They've been seeing this now for years, the bleed, the loss, the hemorrhaging that they're having in terms of the user base and their ad revenue. And obviously the pivot that they did last quarter was on the basis of a lot of that data. I mean, they wouldn't bank so much on the metaverse if they didn't see their current iceberg melting. And they do. They see that very clearly. And so now they're going, well, this nascent technology is the thing that we've got the best grip on, the best market share. We're the leader in the industry. And really, they just have to watch out for Apple, I think, because if Apple stings them really hard and at the same time is choking their bottom line through the revenue blockers, we could have a really big fight of the giants here. And I'm really curious how this is going to play out for us. I hope we're going to end up with a solid competition between two major global companies, and that'll be advantageous for us as users. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And to kind of round up the meta stuff, which I don't know if you all noticed, but the official Oculus Twitter account is no more. So, F in the chat to pay your respects. They've changed now their official Twitter handle from Oculus to MetaQuest VR. We've talked about this before, so I don't want to dwell on it too much. But, I think it's a real shame that we're losing the Oculus brand.
All of them,
yes,
Instagram,
all of them.
YouTube, Facebook,
But
Twitter.
also all of their Twitter handles, right? It's MetaQuest, MetaQuest Gaming, MetaQuest
VR.
Help, MetaQuest whatever.
Yeah.
It's all now.
I think the only things that are left are the official website, right, and the App Store itself are still under the Oculus branding.
Yeah, but they said the software they wanted to. Well, I mean, they said that like they want to keep it being called Oculus for now, but I'm sure that's gonna change too. But I said like, imagine getting a Quest now and it says Oculus on the box. You're gonna like look it up on social media and you can't find it. That's so weird, right? Yeah. I think the thing that cracked me up the most was Palmer Luckey memeing around about this on his own account. It's really
it must be difficult for him.
it is
his
very
baby, obviously.
It annoys him, obviously. I mean, he wanted to keep it being now everything, all his history that he created is pretty much
slowly
gone.
being eroded away. Yeah.
I do wonder. I had a shower thought the other day, and this is very much a 2022 shower thought on this subject, which was I was like, hang on, at a corporate level, is there such a thing as dead naming? Like, is it disrespectful now to speak about Oculus if the company has made it obviously so clear what we should be calling it? But I have all of my cords and tethers and ties want me still calling it Oculus, of course, because like you guys, I love that name, and it's something that I want to live.
It's harder for us. For people that have been there from the beginning, followed VR since its resurgence, with Palmer at the helm, with the Kickstarter campaign and the DK1, I think it's very difficult for us to let it go. I don't think it's going to be a problem so much in like 10 years time, no one will care that it was called Oculus before. But like I said on my tweet on Twitter, it feels like it matters now. It feels like it's important now to us, but I don't think it will in the long term. But it's a shame to see them go. And I think it's only a matter of time before we see the boxes being rebranded with MetaQuest, and whatever Project Cambria gets officially called, it will likely have the Meta logo on it. So yeah, we shall see. But that's kind of a roundup of like the kind of meta news over the last couple of weeks.
Dr. Meta.
Yeah, he has to change his name now. Dr. Oculus has to change his name to Dr. Meta.
It does sound kind of like a villain or something, like Dr. Meta.
It does, yeah.
Spider-Man.
The Quest store is doing good, so that's one thing at least.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some games now. Let's talk about Wanderer, because this game came out on the 27th of January, came out on Steam and PSVR. No Quest version right now, but you never know what's going to happen in the future. Maybe they'll work on it, get that working on Quest. We've seen crazier things happen, so I wouldn't write it out completely. If you're not familiar with the game, it's a time-traveling VR adventure. It's filled with, quite complex puzzles. I would say if puzzlers aren't necessarily your bag, maybe this one might not be for you, so just bear that in mind. But essentially, you have to go back in time. You have to embody key people in the past in order to change history and reshape the future. So it's got this kind of like really cool time-traveling story. Think sort of Back to the Future, Quantum Leap, those kind of vibes. You're on the right track.
Are they fictional people, or are these like historic figures?
Fictional.
Okay.
Well, some historical.
Yeah, no, they are
historic figures. Yeah. But some are fictional.
Okay.
It's kind of like I haven't played it, but what I got from it's like like the Assassin's Creed games where you encounter like actual real life characters.
Yeah,
like that?
I don't want to give too much away. Because I think like a lot of the joy of this game is just experiencing the many twists and turns.
Okay.
And I would also try and avoid like trailers. I don't know if we're showing the trailer now, but close your eyes.
We are showing the trailer. Clicking away.
Don't look.
But essentially, to give you a quick kind of summary of the story, you're a character called Asher Newman who lives in like a post-apocalyptic Boston in the year 2061. The world's completely destroyed, kind of run down, broken. Think sort of The Last of Us mixed with Waterworld. That's kind of what it looks like. You've been left this kind of cryptic message from your late grandfather, who sort of says you need to come to his old apartment where he's left something special for you, and that's basically where the game starts. I won't give any more away than that, but yeah, you'll be hopping around time zones and having a lot of fun. It took me around 8 hours from start to finish, and I was rushing somewhat through the game. Other people have said around 10 hours, so I guess it depends how smart you are.
Did you play it cabled, or did you play it through some wireless mechanism?
No, I played it using Link. Yeah, I was recording some content at the time. Whenever I'm recording, I always use the Link cable. But one thing I will say is, obviously it's a PC VR game, so on PSVR as well, but the game looks beautiful, and you'd be surprised because the way the game looks, you would think it was like a AAA dev studio behind this game, but it's actually two small indie dev teams that have kind of collaborated together called M Theory and Odd Boy. Super small team, super passionate team, though. They've put their heart and soul into this game, and you can really tell it's got some great interactions that kind of feel like if do you know when we've complained on previous episodes of the show where it's clear that devs haven't played like some of the greats in VR, like Half-Life Alyx and Boneworks and some of these, Saints and Sinners, for example. It's clear that these devs have, and they've gone, oh, that interaction is really great, or the way this feels is really great, and they've kind of pieced that together in Wanderer, and it makes for a very, very cool game. Definitely recommend it.
I think what's interesting about this one is that, I think they were first working on this for the PlayStation VR, and then decided to also, bring it to PC. But I think this is an example of how maybe the PlayStation VR2 will, have an impact on the PC VR ecosystem, because I do think this is an indirect game because of the PlayStation, because of the console, and that you finally get something that is surprising again, something that has some more meat to it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. But like I say, it's rare that we get these like really great story-driven adventures, and they're sort of to be cherished. And it's a shame because like these games, because they only release on PC.
Yeah,
and
they
PSVR,
didn't. It didn't sell much. No, it didn't.
They don't get the traction they deserve.
I don't have the numbers, but it didn't sell crazy. Also, because when a game is hype, we're soon gonna talk about Zenith, when it's everywhere on social media. But this game, I mean, everyone already forgot by now that this game even came out, sadly. And it will, at some point, people will discover it again. But something that I do want to say about this game that I think is amazing is, you remember all these puzzle games from the past where you had all these items laying around, but you grab them, but you can't do anything with them. But you think you can do something with them, so you're like, oh, I need to keep this because it could be. Well, this game, like almost every item that is laying around is actually useful for something, and that makes you feel like immersed in the world, and it feels like everything is possible again. Well, most of the older games was or glued onto the table, you couldn't grab it in the first place, or it was there but you could only grab. So there was like tons of stuff, but it didn't add anything to the game itself. This game kind of nails that, where it disguises some items are trash, you can't do anything with them, but others, and then that surprise of what you used to have with VR, right? Where you're like, wait a second, I can use this to do that. And that's something that I really missed, where...
Well, that's actually funny you mentioned that, Nathan,
cool.
because
cool.
I think that's something that we highlighted in the last show with Carousel as well, and it was one of our main points of critique regarding Hitman, right? That there's so little interactivity in a world that is supposed to be so immersive. And that VR, sometimes it's better to scale down and to make your world smaller, but to really do stuff with the things that you have in that world. And if this game does that, I think that's a major.
Yeah, it's like interactivity with a purpose to it.
Like what the I Expected It dev team did. Shell Games did a very good job of that, and I do think that the natural VR player is normally almost like a 5-year-old. You just want to grab and throw things and explore and figure out what can you do. But I'm very heartened to hear that, Nathan, because I love it when a dev looks at the permutations and combinations of the assets in their scene and actually makes hearty use of that. And in a puzzle game, that's probably the most important place to do it. Something like Shadow Point, for example. Any game like that where you need to be leveraging your environment, and that's part of the puzzle, part of the experience.
Yeah. I think that there's great variety in the puzzles as well. They're not all the same, and I kind of likened it to the Room VR. There's a lot of different puzzle designs in there, and that's the only thing I would say is that if you're not into puzzle games, maybe avoid this one, but it is a bit of a shame because it's got a fantastic story.
It's not like I think on Steam they labeled it as a casual puzzler. I'm not so sure. It's quite hardcore, to be honest. I mean, I'm not as smart as you, or maybe I'm as dumb as you. Who knows? But no, like I've been stuck in this game for like 30 minutes, and it was like super obvious, but also not so obvious. So it's a game where you really have to be creative and think out of the box, and it's not gonna hold your hand. It's not.
Yeah. It's a great game. I would say it's likely going to feature on my top VR games of the year list.
Fair enough.
Eventually.
Fair enough. For now, it's only February. Just saying. So
I was going to ask, what's the kind of finish of the game? Are there bugs, or does it feel actually quite like a 1.0?
There were bugs in the beginning, but most of these bugs have been reported by numerous people to the developers when I spoke to them about it. Nothing game breaking, but yeah, it's a small studio, it's a small team. But
let's say for what they launched,
most of them ironed out.
Yeah, but for what they launched, it was very impressive. I mean, we are used to playing games nowadays where they're broken AF. This game was playable, so
totally.
The thing is, whenever I play a puzzle game, after 3 minutes, I think it's bugged. If I can't figure it out.
I think Zim will love this one. I think this is right up Zim's street.
It's the first game this year that has come out, and I'm glad I moved when I did, because I've been so busy and occupied and sans rig that you don't want stuff to be launching, because then you have to play catch up. This is on my catch up list, so
I have to say I am interested. Even though I'm not a puzzler, the story does have me intrigued. That I kind of want to. I kind of want to try.
It's an exciting story for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Great companion throughout as well. A lot of people saying they enjoy it in the chat. Yeah. Yeah. Paradise Decay, game of the year for him. Yeah.
Wow. Already. Yeah. Game of the year last time. You know what? That escalated last time when we said game of the year, so I'm not going to say anything.
But yeah, that's Wanderer. I think it gets a 2 thumbs up from us. Definitely go check it out if puzzlers are your bag. Moving on from Wanderer, let's talk about some PSVR2 news. Nothing too exciting, so don't go crazy. But let's talk about Gran Turismo 7 because PlayStation had a State of Play this week. I don't know if you're aware of that. It was an event solely focused on Gran Turismo 7. That game actually releases on the 4th of March. Sadly, throughout the half an hour show, we didn't get any mention of PSVR2 or VR support being added to the game, which I don't think is surprising. I wasn't surprised not to hear about any VR implementation, but I do think VR support is highly likely in this game.
Yeah.
And I think we all agree on that. This game paired with a racing wheel, with just the PS5 setup, people like Zim that love VR racing games, or maybe this will be their first VR racing game. It's just going to blow their freaking mind.
Have they? Are they selling any haptic steering wheels with their new technology built in?
Well, Thrustmaster have a new steering wheel for Gran Turismo 7. So yeah, I would say.
I mean, it was already kind of built in, anyways. But I mean,
yeah, it's going to be
it's
going to be like a proper decent force feedback wheel. So yeah, paired with a VR headset like the PSVR2 is going to be epic for racing fans. But another reason why I think a VR mode is likely with Gran Turismo 7 is that we've got to remember that the game is developed by Polyphony Digital. And let me get the name right. Polyphony Digital, who are a PlayStation-owned studio, so they're a first-party studio. Also, it wouldn't be the first time in the series that Gran Turismo has had VR support, as the last game in the series, Gran Turismo Sport, which launched on PS4 back in 2017, had VR support baked into it, although it was kind of limited.
Very true.
It was just a slice.
Racing on PlayStation VR was kind of...
Yeah, no, I mean, there were things like...
There was another one. What was the other game?
Drive Club VR, which launched with it, and that was atrocious. It was as arcadey and mushy feeling as you could possibly get in a racer. It did not feel sim in the slightest. So, I think, Dirt Rally has saved the day to some extent for a number. I mean, remember, there was that one mode you and I were joking about maybe doing, Nathan, was the co-pilot in Dirt Rally on PlayStation, which didn't come on PC, where you could have you could have a co-pilot like multiplayer, essentially. Nathan's my cabin guy. He's reading out the instructions, left 3, all this kind of stuff. I still think that kind of mode would be really special, especially if you have, a buddy, or you have like your spouse or girlfriend or whatever
who has a stomach of steel.
Well, yeah, there's that. But a lot of people are used to modern VR, and modern VR sets, they don't really make people sick half as much as they used to. So
just sounds like the ideal type for like getting like into meaningless arguments. I said right. No.
Oh, absolutely. Relationship ender for sure.
But Mike is right. Like Gran Turismo was like it appeared on every PSVR trailer, even if it wasn't that great. It did show up everywhere because they you see PlayStation wants to hit every genre, right? You can be a racer, you can be a puzzler, you can be an adventurer, So they're always going for all the different genres, and racing is a big one. And you see, let's be honest, like with Meta right now. I mean, racing is like on the Quest, racing, like real life. Like I think they're really like the simulation part of it. They want to touch onto that for sure.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what excited me overnight, and I don't know, Mike, if you've prepared some on GTA. Did you hear the GTA news?
No, go on.
So GTA 6 has been officially confirmed by Rockstar as in development now, in active development, which is great. So, now since, 2013 when GTA 5 ran, and they've been throwing it on every system possible. I think microwaves now support GTA 5. But like GTA 6, that announcement to me says something, because Rockstar, for those who don't know, right, has dabbled in VR quite successfully, I would say, in some of their past products. And I am super excited to see this nexus of PSVR2 news, the GTA 6 development news, and I would not be surprised if they brought a GTA 6 VR out, like in tandem. It wouldn't just be that. I think it would be flat plus VR mode, but and then perhaps only on PSVR2. But what a system seller that would be! It really would.
I mean, what you're basically saying, like the era of like PC power, like PC master race and console master race is gonna happen again. And Quest 100%. Has been great for the party stuff mainly, and you have a few titles that kind of get, but this is gonna be a total different league where it's like you play with your bowling game we're gonna play some real deal stuff. No, but I really see this being, because that's what people want. Like everyone who had a VR headset wants that like realistic stuff, wants those bigger games, and yeah, that's gonna happen on hopefully the PlayStation VR2.
I mean, look at like GTA Online, how popular that has been, and what a cash cow for Rockstar.
Crazy.
Think about that, right? Everyone's like now buzzing, as you said at the start, right? And talking about metaverse and buying property and stuff like this. They've already got that ecosystem with GTA Online, right? You can buy a place, you can set up your crime ring or whatever, and go driving and all this.
But that's the reason why it took so long for GTA 6 to be announced, because they still made so much money with online that there was no reason for them to even. So yeah, no, but it's gonna be great.
Wouldn't it be weird if they ignored VR? Like, I do think at this stage it's somewhat expected for big studios, Rockstar, Bethesda, etc. So. I've definitely got my fingers and toes crossed on this one, but GTA 6, let's hope we get the VR that we want.
So.
Yeah, it would be a game changer for sure.
That's an understatement.
That would, yeah.
But yeah, I think, obviously we didn't hear about PSVR2 or any VR mode during the Gran Turismo state of play. But I do think, Sony are going to probably do their own big event around PSVR2 where they're going to announce everything. We've got VR modes coming to like Gran Turismo. We've got a VR mode coming to Resident Evil Village, for example. I also think that's highly likely going to happen.
Guarantee.
So while we don't know when this is going to happen, we did have some other exciting news, and that was that yesterday, the official webpage for the PlayStation VR2 went live on the PlayStation website, suggesting that it could be sooner rather than later. There aren't any fresh details on the site, so you don't get to see the headset. That's obviously one thing we still haven't seen yet. But you can sign in with your PlayStation account to get updated with more information when it drops, and also when the pre-orders go live, you'll be one of the first to know. So that's worth doing if you've already got a PlayStation account. Going back to the original PlayStation VR, when it launched, you could pre-order it around March 2016, and then it released in October 2016. Yep. So maybe we'll see it similar play when it comes to PSVR 2, that they'll announce it, and you can pre-order it in March with a release sort of end of the year.
It's going to be sense. This is going to be a fucking expensive year for VR, is all I'm saying. You've got Facebook's offerings coming, with their new headsets coming. You've got PSVR 2. Anyone who doesn't already have a PS5, like myself, has to buy one of those too and find one. Oh my, yeah. There's a lot.
There's a big chance that will happen because of the fact, PlayStation is still trying to bump up their production of the console itself. So if they buy everyone some time, because the thing is, there are a lot of people who are going to pre-order then, and then they don't even have the console yet. So that you need to try to get one until it's like October. You know what I mean? So it's going to be a race against the clock for a lot of people.
And I think unless they really do something drastic with the supply chains, I think it's going to be even harder to find a console after that announcement.
The prices are going up.
I would say that if you're looking at PSVR 2 as like a system, maybe try and secure a PS5 now if you can.
Even at a premium, I would have to agree, especially because the global chip shortage isn't helping matters either. So
the price might go up because of more people wanting one, like a small batch of PlayStation VR users.
The scalpers are holding on tight. There's so many available on eBay. It's ridiculous, but the prices are tumbling because they're not selling. People are literally drawing a line in the sand and saying, like, we're not buying these, with such a great markup. Maybe 50 quid, 100 quid, reasonable, but any more than that is a no-go.
And sometimes magically stores do have like 3 or 4 in your own town. So always, put yourself on every list you can find, because they are sometimes available again in small batches.
I had 2 or 3 in my local store last week. So
yeah.
Oh,
they are about. If you really want one, you can find them. A lot of the people complaining, they're just complaining because they're not interested in this system anyway, and they're like, you can't find one. Did you really look for one is the question. But obviously the complaints about the cable are still there, but again, like we mentioned on a previous show, I don't think it's going to be a big deal when you accept what is coming as a trade-off. Eye tracking, headset haptics, high resolution display.
When you play Resident Evil 8 in VR.
Exactly, yeah. That's not a mod. PSVR 2 hype. Hopefully we'll get some new information on that soon. I would love that, actually.
One thing that was on the website, they mentioned something where they mentioned kind of like the online part of PlayStation, where you will be able to have eye contact with online players. So imagine Horizon in a way, or Rec Room or VR Chat, but then PlayStation's own version of that. So there are some new bits of PlayStation Home. There are some new bits here and there on that website that kind of give you some more info. So yeah, definitely check out the website to pre-order maybe, and also to see what's there in terms of info bits.
Yeah, and one thing that Jay Ritchie mentioned in the chat, which I think is important to bring up, is that the site does seem to confirm apparently that the eye tracking will be used for advanced foveated rendering, which was something we wasn't quite clear on at the time.
What does that mean? What is advanced foveated rendering? Like, they still don't say it's dynamic, right?
Well, I would imagine that's what it suggests.
But why don't they just say dynamic foveated rendering then?
Because hype, Rowdy.
Everyone calls it something different.
Exactly.
It's not like a standard term within the industry right now.
It's like between zombie games.
It's like mixed reality. Like people use mixed reality as talk about mixed reality and VR pass-through, AR. Whereas, we would call mixed reality like the way you capture gameplay, like using Live or something like that. So there's so many different mixed up terms that there's not like really a standard in the industry just yet.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I'll believe it when I say
it. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. So PSVR2, hopefully, I'd be really happy with that. Pre-order March, release in October. I'm down. I'm going on holiday in March, so I'd be happier with that. If they released it in March, then I would probably have a meltdown because it's the first holiday that I've booked in 2 years. And I would.
Do they have internet in Poland?
No.
Okay. Well, that's gonna be fun. You can call me if you want.
But still, anyway. So finally, I want to talk about Zenith. A lot of people have been hyped about this. Like Nathan said, there's been a lot of talk about this. Loads of people posting stuff on social media. It's probably one of the most hotly anticipated VR games that's launched in a while. And obviously it launched just last week on the 27th of January. Same day as kind of Wanderer. I think it kind of outshadowed Wanderer a little bit. Any of you guys been playing Zenith?
Yeah, I've definitely. Yeah. I went in with the melee class, but I wanted mage. Must have pressed the wrong button. Ended up melee, and was like, this is actually even more fun because I did mage when the beta or alpha was on, and then went in for a while. Yeah, our time zones didn't sync up, so we haven't gotten to play together. But yeah, it's a good game. It's a good game. I'm having fun with it.
So how many hours do you think you're in right now?
I mean, on the alpha, I put probably 3. On this, again, I'm mostly doing housework and stuff, so probably another 2.5 or so. Okay. So I'm not like terribly deep, but
probably the same amount as me then.
Yeah, about a full charge and a half of the quest, I think, is what I've done. But it was funny because I went in and it was quite late here, and the first set of people I kind of crewed up with was a couple from London. A young couple from London, and they both had headsets, and we all just played together. They'd been in the game like all day long, charging, recharging, coming back and forth in it, and they just kind of took me from dungeon to dungeon until we went into this big snake dungeon and got totally wiped out.
Dungeon, yeah.
And then my headset dropped, and it was like, okay, that's a good punctuation mark. But up until that point, like, it is quite physical. I'd say the combat coming even from something like a modded Skyrim is a bit of a letdown. Like, it's not as involved as feeling. Like you don't really feel like your swords are sliding off of one another or whatever. But if you want to do it and get a bit of exercise, play an MMO and go from quest to quest, it works really well. The one thing that I wish they did was when you're flying, I kind of wish it wasn't pop one flying, which is just arms out. I wish they had you flap your wings. I want to feel like a stupid bird when I'm flying. I just want that. So I hope they can bring in like a device or something that you can flap and maybe get a bit more airtime. That would be fun.
So we've got Skeever in the chat. Hello, Skeever. He's got around 50 hours into the game. I'm
50 hours?
I wonder what level you're at. Like, can you let us know what level you're at? Because also, sadly, but Bradley was in the chat earlier. Sadly, it's Bradley.
It came out 2 weeks ago, right?
He was a big fan of the alpha or the beta that me and GT jumped in with him, and he was giving us this like huge tour of the map. It was like the size of the map is just insane. But we were like just running past these high level enemies just so he could show us this like crazy area. There was like a hot tub or something. He was excited to show us. Oh,
you got to be careful about that.
Skeever says level 24.
It'd be hilarious if you would have set like level 3.
Yeah. 50 hours
that's him after like 50 hours tutorial. Just finish the tutorial.
You got to be careful when you're running around, like because you will attract mobs like bees to honey. Like you do have to be careful about that because I've been a little bit too bold sometimes, and we have 5 people on you, and you're like, uh-oh. even if they're lower level mobs, you're gonna get wiped.
Goza-san says I'm a level 12 support mage. Yeah, he's my man because I'm a support mage as well. That's kind of my class. Initially, when the game launched, they had some server issues. I think a lot of that's been resolved now. Like I said, I've got about 2 or 3 hours into the game. I think it's okay so far. I should preface that by saying that I've never played an MMO before.
Yeah,
I never got into World of Warcraft.
Not the type for that.
Did you not play Orbis then? You didn't play.
I played Orbis. Like a very small amount. I didn't get into it. I never got into like Phantasy Star Online. A lot of my friends did, but I didn't. And I think a lot of people that got into like those MMOs are really digging this. Like Cass and Cherry, for example. Like Cass was a big World of Warcraft player, and she absolutely loves this game. So I think if you understand MMOs and you love that kind of genre of game, then you will definitely dig it. But for me, I'm finding it difficult to find something that really draws me to it. Like I played with Buck and Reese. And we could play anything. We could play Tiddlywinks and still have an amazing time. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing. So you can have fun playing a mundane game, but the game isn't drawing me back. It's just hanging out with the guys is drawing me back into this game.
I actually think there's so far problems with because I've been reading like reviews on this game because I used to be really big into MMOs. Like 14-year-old Rowdy would be like over the moon with this title. Like now it's a little bit less, also because you need to sink so much time in titles like this. You can't go in this, play for like 2 hours and then be done. Like this is a game that needs to grow on you. You need to build that, and and the problem with a lot of the reviews that come out is that a lot of the reviews seem to be written by people who are not into MMOs, who don't want to spend 40 hours on something like this before they write their review. So I think it's hard to to give an opinion on a title like this without having played, a significant amount, without liking MMOs in general, because it's a very specific genre. I think it's hard to give a review on this. In general.
It's like playing Beat Saber if you hate music and you don't like rhythm games. Exactly. It's a similar sort of thing. I get it.
Going to a restaurant, but you only like to eat fries.
That is me.
This is a genre you need to have a lot of knowledge about. This is like strategy, everything in one. And if you're just thinking it's a casual thing you can just jump into without knowing anything. I mean,
but I also think
that's why I want to give it the benefit of the doubt. I don't want to sort of write the game off, and I do want to spend more time in it. And that's why I've kind of held off making a video about this game, because I like Rowdy said, I think you have to put a lot of time in and really understand what the game is all about, because I'd imagine a lot of the more exciting stuff happens later on. Although I just want to mention one really cool encounter that I did have, and this was in the snake dungeon that Zim calls.
Oh, wow. There we go.
What are you guys all doing in the snake dungeon? They're
not called snakes, by the way.
Zim takes a couple there, straight to
the... They look like snakes, like little Jabba the Hutts. That's what they look like.
Jabba the Hutts.
That's what they look like. So Reese and Buck and I were struggling with the final boss of the snake dungeon. We kept dying, and then when you die, you have to pray, and basically you get spawned at the bridge, and you have to work your way all the way back. It's a real ball ache. But we kept on dying, and we was like, we can't beat these guys. And then another little group came along, and they were like, hey, do you need a hand? And we were like, yeah, okay. So we all kind of teamed up together, and they were like blade masters. We were mostly mages. And eventually we took down the boss. And it was just really cool, that kind of dynamic with another group. And then we had a little chat with them over the corpse of the Snake King. And then these aren't the real names, by the way. Snake King. And then we were like, yeah, see you later. We'll see you on the next one. And that was like a really cool experience. And I think that's probably what draws people to games like this, is like encounters like that are just kind of random MMO, and with other real players. Yeah. So I do kind of get the appeal.
The thing is, like, for any MMO, and the problem with an MMO is I always see it as like a framework. You don't generally enjoy it. I mean, the thing that is going to sink you and pull you down, and I say that because it can destroy your life, is groups of people playing together, a specified time or whatever. I mean, I remember when WoW was getting big, and I lost several friends to WoW because they'd be going and they'd be, you have to be there at a certain time. It's almost like a job. And a lot of the interaction that the game offers you, honestly, feels like chores or housework. If you're used to kind of a standard game, the grinding in it is quite intense. But the thing is, that's not the attractor. The attractor is much more the social part and the challenge. Like being able to go up into a dungeon, as you guys did, and that was kind of the same attractor for me, was when you just are able to kind of bump into shoulders in somebody, especially in a virtual space, particularly in VR, and make those relationships or connections, that's what makes it special, because then you can actually end up with a friend out of that, right? And that friendship goes long term, and so it feels real to an extent. You're in a fantasy realm, but it feels like a real human social interaction, because it is, and that's what makes it fun.
It's also a development of skill, right? You need to hone skills in order to become better in the game. People form clans, and I think it's what User Idiot actually says is a good way of summarizing it. It's players bring emergent contact. MMOs and open world games rely on the players to be better. I think that's a really good summary of like how to approach a game like this.
Yeah, it's more about the players than it is necessarily about the world and the environment. Yeah,
Exactly.
Skiva does say like playing Zenith alone would be like really boring, but then he said it would be like playing VR chat alone, which makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a great way of comparing it. So yeah, I would say if you like this style of game, go check it out. If you like social games, go check it out. Like I say, it hasn't gripped me just yet, but I am willing to put more time into it to see if it eventually does. And I'll probably end up jumping in with Zim and Buck and Reese again when the sort of time zones line up.
It does seem to be the best attempt at an MMO in VR so far.
Yeah.
Definitely from the
and
community
I think everyone can see that.
feedback. Yeah, it's definitely the one that people feel most attached to. Orbis and what was it? Nostos. Didn't quite hit home. So yeah, Zenith is definitely the most successful MMO in VR so far, I would say, without doubt.
Yeah.
How did you find the environment when you got in? Like, if I compare to maybe 5 years ago now, like Orbis was a very friendly environment, and my first couple of dips into Zen so far have been on large, very friendly environment as well. Like people very willing to kind of peer up with each other. But I'm curious if you've had any bad experiences.
The only bad experience I had was when Buck accidentally told someone to F off when he was actually relaying a story to us, but actually told someone in game to F off by accident. So he was relaying a story and they were like, oh, sorry. And they kind of ran away.
It didn't have to be a child,
aggressive.
did it? I think I heard that was a kid. Yeah.
But everyone,
then it's fine to do that. That's what you're saying.
Everyone we've encountered in the game so far has been super friendly. Actually, we haven't come across any like trolls as such, or people that want to ruin the experience for anyone else. So yeah, it's probably one of the more friendlier, open social VR experiences I've had so far.
The other thing I was going to say is if you're a fan of games like Diablo, like you like to open a chest and get some gear or get some accessories and then accessorize, honestly, that's where it's got me, because I'm a Diablo fan. And it's like, okay, now I get new boots and now I get a new sword that's got, 2 more damage. But then that excites me for some reason. So that's another piece that if you're a Diablo fan, you probably like this too.
Yeah, I would say like graphically, like on PC, I think it could look better. But, they obviously, they have it running on Quest as well. So they had to make the two look fairly similar. So even if you're on a super high-end PC like me, you can't really crank it to make it look super nice, kind of hit the ceiling somewhere. And also in terms of like character customization, there's not really much there. Like you'll kind of just look like the same anime characters. Like I can't have a bald man and a beard to represent
There's no beards.
me.
What is
There's no beards.
What is with the lack of facial hair? Like, come on, developers, wake up a little bit, please. Is it? I don't know. Does anime or Eastern culture like is it always devoid of beards? I don't know.
Apparently
I don't think so.
I mean, I watch a lot of anime, and usually it's like to signify like age or like a very ancient and wise character, like given like a beer. But
I'm making a podcast with all
I'm
people.
all about.
There you go. Thank you. Someone finally, speaks out about it.
Yeah. That's Zenith. That's Zenith. A lot of people enjoying it. Not sure just yet. So now it's time to hand the reins over to Nathy for this week's top picks of games releasing over the next couple of weeks that we should be excited about. There's a few here. I'm pretty excited about. Actually, I'm pretty excited about all of them, in fact. So go on then, Nathy. Take it away.
Yeah. So I don't have all my screens here in this van, so I'm gonna try to do it from my phone here. That is about to die. So here we go. So we're gonna kick things off with Ultra Wings 2. Yes. So If you like flying small aircrafts, Ultra Wings 2 might be your jam. In the sequel, you once again get to go sky high while flying 5 unique planes as you complete a diverse set of engaging missions across an island-themed world. And if you played the first one, you have these missions where you, for example, like first you start off in a very simple way, right? Where you just have to fly through some hoops and that's it. But then along the way, you start to unlock like strange items and stuff. I remember having this like toy blaster or something like this pistol, and you had to fly and then also shoot targets at the same time.
That is so hard.
It is hard. It is hard.
So difficult.
Well, because even that Ultra Wings might look a little arcadey, it is quite hardcore. Although I remember from the first game you had like a setting where you could also put it on arcade and it wasn't so hard. But yeah, it has some like serious mechanics to it, like you have in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So yeah, that's like Ultra Wings in a nutshell. And it's coming out soon. It's gonna come. Well, wait a second. Did it come out already?
It's already out, I think. Yeah, I think it's already
out. Because I have a date here that is already expired. So yeah, it is out. It's on Quest. And it's also on Steam, because first people thought it was also it was only a standalone game, but it's also
I didn't know it was on Steam actually. I might have to check it out on Steam. The one thing I do look like the look of from the trailer is the fact that you get to fly helicopters. It's something that you don't get to do very often in VR, and it actually takes me back to the VR early days. I don't know if you guys remember, there was a demo called Heli Hell or something similar, where you could fly a helicopter around an island. And it was the first time I ever experienced that feeling of vertigo, like looking down outside of the helicopter at the island below and getting that real sense of height. I haven't played a helicopter.
Yeah, there aren't.
I know Nathan and I played that air balloon game where you had to shoot the balloons at the top.
Deathmatch, air balloon deathmatch or something. Yeah. Oh my god.
That was amazing.
Oh man.
There was an exercise game that had one with an Apache, but that was weird. I think it's VR Zoom or something like that. It had one of these modes where you were in a chopper flying through a valley.
You had to sit on a bike and then fitness.
It was for linking with exercise equipment, and there were a variety of modes.
Yeah,
it was kind of rubbish, but that's another one.
So Paradise Decay saves us in the chat. He said it's out now on Quest. It's coming to Steam in March.
Oh,
so a little delay. Yeah,
but it's a more serious.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's a more serious affair this time. So they've kind of gone. I was curious when they were teasing about 6 months ago or so if they were going to take it like more arcadey, like more towards, someone in chat mentioned as well, Pilot Wings, like what N64 had. Again, like Nathan was saying, flying through hoops and all that kind of stuff. But they've actually slanted it more towards a kind of a more serious. Now it's not sim level yet, right? It's still kind of in the arcade bucket, I would say, but
still. Landing
it's
those
long,
planes is hard.
From what I hear. 40 odd hours in terms of your single player campaign. So this is not a short offering, and it's good to see one of the originals now come out with yet another title. And there isn't much in this space. We have very, very little, in that space, particularly on Quest. So,
okay.
One to do.
So it's $25, by the way. Translating 25 euros. Usually Mike says pounds, but since I'm not from, I'm going to say euros now. Screw you!
No, you should start doing it in Canadian dollars.
Yeah, very specific. So there you go. You like people who are, listening now from the England is my city place. I'm sorry. I apologize. Okay, moving on to, and this one, I think this was, a surprise in a way, because I haven't heard much about it behind the scenes. And it is virtual reality 2. I think most of us played it originally on the Go. Wasn't it? Yeah, it was a Go game, right?
Okay, let's go.
Oh my days. Yeah, you had to grab items with your forehead. Yeah. Remember those days, kids? No controllers.
It was one of those games that made the Go feel way better. They did some magic with that.
That game was amazing. Even the story. Again, even the story in there was weird and wacky, and that really jived with me, that game.
But again, this is
putting
this
the butter
is a genre.
on the toast or whatever. That was
indulge me.
Butter.
Yeah,
It was
but
like
it really
the
felt
kind of like Rick and Morty kind of humor.
exactly. It was the first taste of that we got. Before we got Accounting and Accounting Plus and all the other fun games that have come out.
Funny
since.
enough, not many developers have explored using VR as an actual storyline where you're in VR, but then you travel through VR and you go deeper down the rabbit hole. That's what this game does, right? Like
that was
you wear a headset,
how they did that.
and then you go into another VR world, and then you take up like 6 headsets, and it's insane. So I'm not gonna say too much about this because the trailer gives most of it away. So maybe you should also again close. Yeah, because it shows the entire game.
Said it before I spent 3 minutes playing.
You're already showing it. Okay. Well, never mind then. You already played it, so we're done here.
This is a good episode for audio podcast listeners, is what you're saying.
Yeah, no, but so the description is super weird. So what they're saying is, when a metaverse shuts down, what happens to the avatars left behind? You know what happens?
No idea.
No? Well, that's what you're gonna find out, because you're gonna travel through the metaverse, yes, and save all your NFT crypto bros from dying inside the metaverse. And then you have to take them back to not the real world, no, meat space.
Meat space.
Meat space.
We're living in meat space right now.
Yeah,
Spoiler alert.
That's true.
So this one is coming out, and I might be wrong again, but I hope I'm right this time. I think it's February 17th this year. And the pre-order. Oh, what are you gonna say, Mike?
I was gonna say it's coming out. It's coming out on Quest on the 10th of February and Steam on the 17th.
Yeah.
I'm still getting used to this new role. Okay.
It's all right.
So
you got this, bro.
The pre-order price is $27, and again 27 euros. But if you don't pre-order, like as I said, I think pre-ordering is kind of, even with this game, I would just wait until it comes out and then buy it, even that the chances are that this game is great. But pre-ordering, you never know. But then it's $30, so it's like $3. I don't know. It's not crazy. This one is, as you said, coming out on Quest and Steam, so you can play it on PC too. But yeah, this one is like pure like art. I think it's nice that it's coming back.
Yeah, it's like the original game was like VR Inception. So you put headsets on and it transported you to other worlds, and then you could take them off and you'd be back in the environment again. If you missed the first one, I would probably say now's a good time to go and experience that before the sequel, because I'd imagine it will have references to the original game. So it's made by Tender Claws, and they've got this wacky imagination. Love them.
You just sent me off, Mike, to a special place imagining what a VR themed Inception title would be like, because as you said, this is absolutely that. You go several layers deep, 2, 3, maybe 4 headsets deep. But just think if we had that world, that we saw Leonardo DiCaprio explore with the totems and all of that kind of stuff. It might be really cool if in a couple of years, when things kind of buff up a little bit, to have something like that. That might be very mind-boggling. Pretty neat.
So the next one I found a little random, to be honest, even that I'm a big fan of this artist. It's called Avicii Invector Encore Edition. And you were like, it's a strange name. Well, this came out a couple of years ago on, I think it was mobile and Steam as well, because I did play it, and it's pretty much like Audio Surf, but in VR. If you ever played Audio Surf, so you fly through this world in third person, and you control the spaceship, and you have to hit the buttons on your controller to hit the notes, and then you score points. It's kind of like they ported it over to VR, but there is not really much VR in there. You know what I mean? Like the controls, you're not really doing much with them. It's not like Synth Riders where you really, dance through you just have to press the button. So you can just sit there with your poker face and not do much, right? So I'm not super keen on this, even that I love Avicii. I love his music. I didn't think this was that, interesting personally. I don't know what you think about this, but
yeah, that was my impression too. It looks like something that was designed for flat. They decided to VRify, as in, I'm an artist, I want to try something new, and that's cool, new stuff. So my audience will love it. But I agree with you, the design, just from the screens of it, not having played it yet, and sometimes you do get tricked, but from the screens of it, I agree completely.
And there were some like negative responses to it because, as you may know, Avicii passed away a couple of years, and people said, yeah, maybe this is just a cash grab. But it's good to know that all the money that gets earned with this game is going to the Tim Berkling Foundation. So that's a plus, because it would be kind of weird because he co-designed this with a dev team, so he was involved with that. So yeah, as a fan myself, I'm not so keen on these kinds of games. But let's say Synth Riders and a VG pack or Beat Saber, yeah, then we're talking. But yeah, if you like audio surf in combination with VR, well, give it a try, maybe. So this one is available now. It's on Quest and Steam. It's $30 and again €30. And then the last one, talking about rhythm titles. This was recommended by Mike. I looked it up. I found it super random for some reason, but I'm not really like talking about like Zenith. I'm not into fitness. You can see that, right?
Oh,
so yeah, this one is available now too. It's called Les Mills Body Combat. I tried to look up who Les Mills is, but I couldn't figure it out. I was like, what is his name? Like, what's going on? Like, sometimes there are like names in front of it. I was super confused. So I learned a lot today. But this is a VR fitness game, and I would describe it as like a mix between Beat Saber and Box VR. Now known as, I think, is it called Fit XR now? Did they change? Yeah, they changed the name. And so it comes with workout plans to achieve your goals. So if you want to start off easy, you can do it, or go hardcore. And this game uses instructors that will motivate you to push you through. For the fans out there, we have instructor Dan Cohen and Rachel Newsom.
Of course.
Yeah.
No idea
who these people are, Nathan? You don't know who these people are? You do? No, I know who Les Mills is though. Like, I've heard of Body Combat before.
Okay. But I thought it was about a person who made this game. But even that, you would think like, oh, it kind of looks like a clone of something I've seen before. The reviews were going through the roof. People were super positive about this. So I guess it's great.
Tried it. I tried it.
Oh, you tried it. Okay.
Yeah, it's actually from the same developers that made O-Shape.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I knew what Les Mills was because I've been to like body combat fitness classes at gyms before, and it's like a brand.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it, too much. But yeah, I've been to the gym a few times. I drink some protein every now and again.
Zumba classes.
Show us your six pack. Come on.
it's more like a one pack right now. But lockdown's been hard, okay. But yeah, it's actually pretty decent from what I've tried so far. It does look like a proper workout. Funnily enough, I'm actually 1 week into like a VR fitness thing that I've kind of dreamt up myself, where I want to try getting fit in VR. So for
combat game.
So, well, the plan is for an hour every day for 90 days, I'm going to work out in VR. That's the plan. And just to see what happens and kind of document the journey.
It almost sounded like you were making a fitness game for some reason.
Yeah, that's what I thought he meant.
No, no.
It sounded like...
Yeah, it's gonna be VR Rose Body Combat. I'm going to have a rival app.
You'll see.
But from what I've played of Les Mills so far, I'm pretty impressed with it. I think the way they've implemented like the kind of hologram trainers that are motivating you. They also kind of like the music works really well with the trainers. They kind of sing along as well whilst trying to motivate you. It's been really good so far. So yeah, if
fitness... the instructors sing along?
Well, they kind of, yeah. Like not they don't sing along as in the whole thing, but they get involved every now and again. Yeah, so they're in tune with the music, if you know what I mean. They know what they're doing.
The thing I just wonder, like, if you say motivate, I'm imagining this big dude in the back, like shouting, like, "Get up, you pussy!" Like, what are you doing? Is that the kind of motivation you're getting, or
it's less Mr. T than that, to be honest. It's more friendly. But yeah, I think especially if you enjoy fitness apps in VR, I think personally for me, I would enjoy this more than Supernatural paying like a monthly subscription.
This is like it anyways. So.
This is one payment and you're done, and I prefer that. So. Yeah,
I do as well. For your little stint into VR fitness, Mike, I highly recommend. Although it can wipe you out in one session. I think Sprint Vector, if you can, because for me, motivating myself to do that on a repeated basis I always find really difficult. But if I'm getting up to, play tennis with a buddy or something, I'll be there. I'll be there on time. I'll go every time, So for me, because if it's just on my lazy ass, I'm not going to get up at 6 a.m. or whatever it is to go do an hour of workout. So for a time, couple of weeks, we managed to do like every second, every third day, Sprint Vector, Beat Saber, Box VR, for example. The original Box VR, the new Fit XR isn't as good for those things, but people are saying positive things about this. I can't wait to try it because I want something that isn't, like you said, isn't subscription based, but still gives you that good workout that you want with music and all that. And
the funny thing is, the motivation for me so far has been chasing the achievements in games. So I've been chasing the achievements in Beat Saber, for example. So I completed the solo campaign today, earned the achievement for that, and cleared all the full combos on hard. So done all that.
Wow.
Now I'm moving on to expert. So I'm kind of taking it game by game, but like after the what was it? What was the other full game? The one by Shell Games.
Oh my God! Yeah, you just polluted my brain.
Not after the fall, but it's called
until the fall.
Until the fall.
Until you fall.
Until you fall. That's on my list. Les Mills is on my list. The other one that I've been playing that works surprisingly well, actually, is I've been playing Ring Fit Adventure, but playing it with the Quest 2. So I've been running Ring Fit Adventure through an Elgato capture card.
What is that? What's Ring Fit Adventure?
It's a Switch game, Nintendo Switch game, where you use a ring with the Joy-Cons attached to it. But that is actually the hardest one I've tried so far. Dude, like, it's not to be underestimated. It's actually hard as balls.
Wait. Now I want to play that Wii Sports Island
you can
in
play
VR.
That,
and then run, do the marathon.
To play the Wii on, the Switch on. I've been running it through my PC and using virtual desktop to cast it to the headset to play Ring Fit. And you know what? It actually works surprisingly well because you're holding a ring. You don't hold the controllers, but you're holding this ring, flexing that, doing squats and all sorts of nonsense. That's actually been an amazing workout so far. And I'm surprised no one's actually replicated that because like an RPG type fitness game in VR totally makes sense.
Well, do you remember that studio that had the what kind of, it was like a strategy game, but where you went in and there was a machine. You and I did it, Mike, in LA.
Box VR.
Yeah, Black Box VR, right?
Black Box VR. That's it.
Black Box VR. So, but that was so weird. But it's funny when you have like a gamification of exercise. So would you equate it something to that? Then
totally. Yeah,
that's good because I found that effective. Like as
you're leveling up and you're fighting bad guys, and then you're fighting like end stage bosses, and you don't want to stop halfway through the boss, even though you're completely wrecked. You're like, I've got to finish it. So it definitely works.
Brilliant, excellent. This is good.
So there you go. It's available on Quest, $30, translating to €30. So there you go. And
British pounds.
I don't know. And be as a muscler like Mike, muscle Mike.
We'll see in 90 days. Nothing's changed. I lost half a pound in 90 days.
Flex, what is he called again? Like Flex Armstrong was
yeah, sure.
Yeah, little toy. Yeah. There you go.
There you go. So if you've got any questions for us, now's a good time to ask them in the chat while we wrap up the show. Thanks again to all our viewers and listeners who are listening to the audio version. And also thank you again to our sponsor of this show, and that is Val, the Virtual Athletics League, with the Winter Games coming soon. Just a reminder of the show times. This show is live streamed every other Saturday now on YouTube and on Twitch, now that we've got it working, since Rowdy has been in control. So thank you, Rowdy. The show goes live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 10 a.m. Pacific time. You can also, of course, check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Spotify. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our future podcasts. And yeah, let's see if there's any little questions in the chat for us.
At least one thing that happened that was positive about Zim being gone for a while,
Yeah, got Twitch up and running again.
They really don't like you there, Zim. They really don't. They don't like you on Twitch. Like,
I think it's because I went to YouTube. That's probably why.
Arcanian asks, will Mike post a before photo on Twitter? I'm not. So like I decided.
Yeah.
No.
I decided, Mike. You have to do it.
There's not going to be any naked pictures of me on the internet. That is for sure.
Mike's in his whiteies.
Flexing. No one needs to see that nightmare fuel.
Imagine a gnome with like white underwear on.
I will measure myself. I'll weigh myself. I'll do like the chest and stomach measurements with a tape measure. but I'm not actually showing you.
Imagine him being on a contest,
Sorry.
and he show those that Arnold Schwarzenegger used to do, where he just stands there and Mike
the gun
stands there
show,
on the line,
flexing.
Yeah, and then you're there.
Well, the goal is actually pretty legit.
That.
I reckon I could lose 30 pounds in 90 days. That's my goal. 30
pounds in 90 days. That sounds
wow.
wow.
That's 10 pounds
per day.
A month. Yeah.
Okay, good luck.
I'm on track. I'm on track to do that. So we'll see.
But you started yesterday or something.
No. I've done a whole week so far.
Okay,
That's why I haven't mentioned it before this point, because like.
But are you doing this for motivation or because for the views?
No, I'm doing it because I want to. I'm doing it because I want to, because lockdown's been rough on everyone.
Right?
We've not been able to go to the gym. Everyone's been comfort eating. I've been one of those people. So
That's
both.
We have Water UK saying we need to be careful though because Mike only weighs 30 pounds.
That's true. Yeah.
That was good. Good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to have you back, dude. Welcome back to the show. Is this a permanent coming back now, or are you going to disappear again?
We'll see. Depends on how quick I can get internet set up at the next place. So we'll see.
Oh yeah, because you're in between places, right?
Obviously, technically it works, but yeah, I don't want to do it at a Starbucks. I think that just they'll kick me out in the middle.
Yeah, no questions from the chat. So thank you all again for joining us. So we're going to wrap up the show now. So thank you again, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time for some more fresh VR news. Until then, take care of yourselves, and bye-bye for now.